Aloha! Welcome back, kids. Happy Sunday. Look who we have up here. May May wanted to make a debut. She jumped up and now she says no, she's got to go. But there's Foodie. Foodie. Well, she usually hangs it longer when she hears Foodie. See, she really wants food. And she will get it. But right after this short little announcement of the thumbnail. Oh, look who's here. Yeah, both of them are coming up. Yeah, I know. They're starving. They think they're starving. About this time, they all think they're starving. But they're not. They've eaten all day. It's just wet food. Wet food time. You know how that is, kids. You got a cat or a dog. You always make little wet food with dry food. They seem to really enjoy that rather than just the dry food. Although my cats eat all day, 24 hours, I just leave it out and they keep eating it. So, but they're on the fight. They're on diatomaceous earth, and it seems like it goes through them pretty quickly. So, and they're very healthy, just like my 23-year-old dog. So, if they want to eat, they can eat. What I got for you today, kids, it's a short one. It's on thumbnail. It's on Florida. Florida. When we went to Florida. This is going to be short enough for you because I got to do a back to back, and let's just get this out of the way. I was done with 7th grade in Hillsborough, New Jersey, and between that summer, before I got to 8th grade, my grandparents said, "Is it okay if we take the grandkids to Florida?" My parents said, "Absolutely." And so that's what we got to do, a vacation. Gramps was on the railroad, as you well know or not. Of course, I was as a brakeman. He was one of those ticket guys. He was a conductor doing tickets. So he had his card, and he's able to take himself or the family, which he did. Excuse me, from New Jersey down to Clearwater, Florida. Everyone knows where Clearwater is. It's just right across the bridge from Tampa. You can Google that and you can see where the Clearwater is. Clearwater Pier. That would be nice to look up because from where the pier is, 2 blocks where the bay is, that's where we had our place. And right in the back there was a dock, a long dock, which I was always fishing. That's where I lost my gold ring that my dad gave me when he said, "You are now a man." That would have been in 6th grade, about the time when I took care of that 9th grader. Episode 8. That would have been the time period. But he didn't know about that. I never told him about that. It was when when we put, you push me, I push you. A little game we all, kids, you know, your parents, guardians, you play it, you throw somebody into the couch, then next you get to throw them in the couch. And I was always losing on both my 5th grades. And then finally when I got into 6th grade, I guess chopping down all those dead elm trees had something to do with it. And the chin-ups that I never even spoke about. But I was acquiring a stronger physique. So when I picked Dad up off the floor and I threw him in the couch, I guess that's when he said I was a dynamo. And I think a little after that, "You are now a man." And I got the ring, which what I'm pointing out. When I was casting off the dock, off the ring went because I wasn't quite a man, I suppose, because the initials with that gold ring went right into the ocean, into the bay. And I saw it and I dove in, but when the waves came in, the sand took it away, disappeared. I could hold my breath for so long. So there you go. Anybody out there in Clearwater off looking for a ring, if you come across my initials, MJC, I'll pay you money for it. Good luck on that one. Okay, so we're now on the dock. Gramps comes out and said, "Look, mullet." I said, "I don't see anything, Gramps. I got these bloodworms and squid. Can I get them with that?" "No, you can't get them with that. They're vegetarian." I said, "Vegetarian? I didn't know fish are vegetarian. I thought fish eat other fish." "No, these are vegetarian fish." I said, "Wow, that's..." And he said, "They're tasty. They're very tasty." I said, "Oh, well." how do we catch them, Gramps? He says, and he pulls out a treble hook. And it goes this way and this way. It's had 4 hooks to it on one main hook. And he put the 50-pound test in. And he says, this is how you do it. You throw it right in front of where those little ripples are. And son of a gun, he got one right in the back of it. Pulls it in. And then he missed like 3 or 4 times. And then he threw one more time, and he got one right in its middle. It was kind of a weird way it came in. It was like sideways. And they were literally easily this big. I know how big was the fish? It was at least that big. I know. Because he said, these are perfect pan-sized fish. Nanny knows how to cook these fish. I said, wow, that's fantastic. So she did. She pan-fried them. Bone came right out. And they were flaky and tasty. Very tasty. Just put all that on the back shelf. People have feelings about fish. Some fish are tasty. Some are... That's the way everything is, kids. Positive and negative. Anything you pick. People have attitudes toward. So we got that out of the way. Now we're going across the 2 blocks to the pier. And in the pier, there's these, I don't want to say little guys, but there were some Vietnamese. He said, there's some Vietnamese. They know how to catch shark. I said, shark? And he said, yeah, they're no good. And I said, well, I don't know. I'd like to try some shark. He said, nah. So I went over and I had to watch how they're going to get shark off this pier, because shark are usually further out. But the waves are going out, so the tide was going out, and that's what they had. They had a boat with a motor on it. You know, it wasn't a boat; it was more of a plank. It was a flat plank they had down in the water, and then they had a hook, a big hook. I mean, like a big hook, and they had a ham hook. You know what a ham hook is, kids? That kind of ham hook. They put the hook through it. I'm going to say 50-pound test at least. That's what we were all using off that dock. It was just something we used, 50-pound test. And so they lowered it down on the plank in the little boat. And so there was 2 lines, one to the boat and one to the reel. So it went out, about, Grant says that it's got to be at least a quarter mile. And they all agreed it was at least a quarter mile. We couldn't see it anymore, but it was about a quarter mile. So what do? With a fishing line, and it goes down, and they pull back the boat back to them. These guys were catching big shark, let me tell you, coming in. It was fantastic. I just had to let you know that there are sharks in Florida. And manta rays. So we're back home, and Nanny is saying something like, we gotta go somewhere. So did everybody go BB? And when we first heard that, when I was 5 and Bro was 3 up in Flagstaff, BB, you got to go BB, which means PP. We thought it was a funny thing. We were rolling on the floor. BB, she said BB. But by this time, we're like in 7th grade. We've heard it before. We know that we're going for a trip somewhere. So we better relieve ourselves, because she doesn't want to stop anywhere to go to the bathroom, is basically what it came down to, kids. You know how that is. Parents want to know, hey, just relieve yourselves now. We're going on a trip. I don't know where we'd be going on a trip, because we didn't even have a car, but I guess it was a long walk. So then she says, after BB, she says, have you relieved yourself, number 2? And she looks at me. I said, yeah, and that was this morning. I mean, I'm good, And then she looks at Bro. She says to Bro, have you relieved yourself? He says, no. He said no. That was a mistake. Maybe not. But he said no, and then she got concerned. Nan was a doctor in her own rights. And she said, when was the last time you went, number 2? And Bro says, oh, let's see, there was 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 days ago. And Nanny flipped out. I never saw her flip out like this. Even when Bro put his fingers in the butter, and she slapped him. That was the only time I ever saw Bro get slapped by Nanny. So butter was a big thing back then anyway. So she got more excited than that when Bro was saying 4 days. And she screams out, Charlie! Bro, I'm taking bro to the hospital. And I'm sorry. The I'm thinking, well, how's he going to get to the hospital? You know, she says, I'm going to call a cab. So off they go to the bro and her go off to the hospital. Which, by the way, kids, you definitely want to relieve yourselves on a daily basis. Okay, that's all Uncle Mark's going to say. I'm not going to go into this too much because it can be messy. We do know when you go to a doctor, he's going to ask you when was the last time you had a bowel movement. And you're going to say it's none of your business. But he's really asking you for a reason because toxicity builds up in your body when you don't get rid of the poo. All right? That's a doctor law. And a doctor that doesn't ask you that, starts feeding you medication, I would suggest maybe, I don't know, asking them why you didn't ask me that question maybe. Maybe that would be one of the things. Unless it's medication to do that. Okay, maybe. But there's other ways too. You don't need the pills, and I don't want to go there right now, but it is possible. Different teas you can take. Okay, so Gramps looks at me and says, hey, you want to go fishing? I said, absolutely. So off to the pier we go. We already know about the sharks. Well, here I am. I got this pole that is a surfing pole, surf poles, and I had 50-pound test on. And I guess I was running out of bait or something. I was using it up too much. I wasn't catching anything. Graham says, I can't keep springing for all this bait. He says, so he goes to the shop and he comes back with these little rings, little metal rings on top, like little monkey rings, you know, on top of each other, little chain rings, about that big. He says, here, this is you're gonna catch bait. I said, what? He says, yeah, put it over there, drop it in the water, half hour, 45 minutes, you'll catch the fish. I said, I don't know. I pulled, son of a gun. I had fish. See, yes, they go in and they can't come out. These particular fish are called butterfish. They're little yellow fish. They're great for bait. So I was getting a lot of bites, but I wasn't getting any fish. So finally, on this one particular one, my pole, my surfing pole, very strong poles by the way, bends over like this. And the guy next to me saying, you better let out some lead, son. I said, what? He says, the lead, your string's too tight. It's not going anywhere. I said, nah, it's going to be fine. All of a sudden it bends down a little more and it goes, pow! It sounded like a firecracker. I've never had that to this day. Well, it's a 50-pound test. And when that happens on a big fish that comes out of the ocean, that's what it's going to sound like. So I'm going to say, kids, always make sure when it's not tight all the way because you want to get a fish. No, because even a 50-pound test will break is what I'm saying. So always have a little bit so it pulls out. So I said, what kind of fish was that? And he says, you got a ray. You got a ray. A ray? A manta ray. You got a manta ray. I said, really? A manta ray? He says, yeah, there's a lot of manta ray. And I said, boy, I'd like to get a manta ray. He says, nah, no good. Really? Manta ray? I Googled. They have restaurants over there now that serve manta ray. All right. I would have loved to have that one. And I've fished some oceans and I've had some things hit my line, freshwater, salt water. And this one, it didn't go like normal fish, like they would either jump up in the air or they go out that way or out that way, this way. I mean, they take off that way. This thing went like, it hit and then it went like, whew, straight down. He says, yep, that's a manta ray. I said, oh man, I missed the manta ray. He says, no, they're dangerous, man. They got a tail and they can sting you. Oh, well, maybe it's just as well. So I was wanting another shot at it. I didn't care. I had more real. I had 50-pound tests, and I had it all. Well, actually, you know what? I never did undo it as much as I should have. Maybe, I don't know. But thinking about it, maybe I could have. It would happen. Maybe wouldn't have happened. Probably still would have. But I had butterfish. I had butterfish in my bucket. I had a bucket with water and butterfish all ready to go. So I had my sandals on, and it was kind of windy, and I had my hook, a big hook, a hook about that big. If you can see that, that's at least that big a hook. I might have even put a bigger hook on, so it was that big, and I didn't have anything on it yet. But when the wind The wind. The wind went around my string, around my buckle. So when I took my step to get my butterfish out of the bucket, the string and hook came slinging right in the back of my leg, right, right in the calf area. So the whole hook was now in the calf. All right. Now I looked at that. I don't know. Gramps came over by that time. He says, "Yeah, that doesn't look very positive." I said, "Gramps, don't worry about it. I saw a movie because we grew up. We were in New Jersey into Florida, but as you well know, kids, we were we grew up in Flagstaff, and we were cowboys. And you watched enough cowboy and Indian movies. When everybody got shot with an arrow, what do? Well, you just break off the arrow and you just shove it through or whatever. Yeah. So that was in my intent of my mind that, well, if this is stuck in my leg, I still got like a bunch of the barb left. If I can just go, "You got any pliers, Gramps?" "Yeah, I got pliers." "Give me some pliers." So he gives me the pliers, and I go with the pliers because in my mind, I was thinking, well, the barb has some pretty big barbs on it. But I said, but I could go like this and have it come out to where I could just grab it with the pliers. And I said, well, there's the hole part, so we're gonna have to clip that. Do you have any needle nose? "Yeah, I got some needle nose." Who comes over with some needles? You know how I feel about needle nose. In the past, it's very you can do a lot with needle nose pliers. So I clipped it. And maybe I clipped a little too close. Maybe I don't know. Hindsight. But when I went in to get what all that came out was like the barb, the little pointy part was just sort of coming through the skin on my leg, and I had no more where to go with it. I mean, I couldn't even really get so. So Graham says, "Guess we're gonna have to go to the hospital, son." I said, "Hospital? Bro's already at the hospital. We don't have to do." He says, "Yeah, it doesn't look too positive." So he looks next to the guy with the manta ray guy, because he's all wanting to know what's going on. And I guess we didn't know him prior to that, but Graham says, "Hey, you got a car, don't you?" He says, "Yeah, I got a brand new car." And he says, "Ah, good. You're gonna give my grandson a ride to the emergency room." And the guy says, "No way, man. That kid." I was bleeding a little bit. And he says, "No, the blood will get all over my car." And Graham says, "No, I got this." He had a beach towel. He says, "I got a beach towel. We'll fold it in half and everything." He says, "No, I don't think so." My grandfather says, "You're taking my grandson to the hospital." And that's all he really said. And the guy kind of went with it. So I get there, I get to the hospital, and they put me on a gurney. And I'm getting rolled in. Everybody's screaming, "He's got a fish hook in his leg!" I'm like, yeah. And so I get there, and the doctor comes out, and he's saying, "How'd this happen?" I told him the story that I told you. I didn't tell him that I did anything other than it buckle into the back of my leg. But then as he's got these whatever the little tweezer things that they got, get different sizes, and he's pulling, and he's seeing that that the eye part is gone. He wants, but he wasn't really asking. But when he got the pointy part, and he was pulling, a lot of my leg was going with it. They had to hold my leg down, and he says, "We're gonna have to sedate this kid or something." Not sedate him, but give him a bunch of shots, so the sensation isn't going to be so strong for him. Actually, he said pain. I go with sensation, as you well know. In the past, we're not going to go there. So he gets the tip of it, and he's pulling, and it's still pulling. He says, "Nah, we're gonna have to get the knife." So they had to make an incision, and then it kind of came out. Then I got some stitches, Then I went home, no big deal. So I get home, and by that time, Bro's home. So we're both home. I said, "Hey, Bro, how's the hospital?" He said, "Eh." And then Daddy would say, "What? He went to the hospital?" And Graham said, "It's nothing. He got a couple stitches." That's all he said. Nanny was very excitable, so he kept it on. And I didn't go into detail either. So now, Bro is in the bathroom. He's in the bathroom for like 2 hours, And Nanny kept going into the bathroom. I was watching some kind of movie. I think it was a Charlie Chan movie or something like that. It was one of my favorites. So she kept coming out of the bathroom, and then finally she was saying, "I can't believe it. I can't believe it." And then Bro finally comes out, and then we're eating dinner or whatever, and she says, he flushed that 4 times. Like probably for the 4 days that he didn't go. Yeah, and that was my point, kids. You're supposed to go at least once a day. Is all I'm saying. Once a day, because these are toxins that build up in your intestines that they have to. You have to. Actually, do you know? Do you know? It's 3 times a day, not one. Ask any doctor that's. They're going to say Uncle Martin is actually correct. 3 times a day is you're super healthy. So once a day, fine. Twice a day, fantastic. 3 times a day, you are very healthy. All right. I say this because there's a lot of actors in the past that just could have maybe stayed a little longer with us. Like just say right off John Wayne, when at the end of his time, there was like, well, there's a discrepancy in how many pounds. It's between 40 and 80 pounds that he had in his intestines. That was bile. I guess a lot of steak and stuff. You know, he was a steak eater. But I'm just saying, to be healthy is 3 times a day. And anybody on their 4th day, I wouldn't say necessarily go to a doctor, but you might want to ask some medical help. I would first go with maybe some senna leaves. Senna would be probably even peppermint. Start with some peppermint tea. That gets your digestive system going, and it pretty much goes with most things to where your digestive. Even grandmothers of grandmothers have for years have had peppermint tea in their cupboard. I'll go over tea someday, but just this one right now. Peppermint tea has more vitamin C than an orange, more potassium than a banana. It affects your blood flow to where your veins. If you drink enough of it, varicose veins will diminish. It takes care of headaches. We learned about it when Mom, in my first or second, 5th grade, she was banging on the floor. She had migraine headaches. She couldn't have. Then we started, at that time too, started looking into teas. Peppermint tea takes care of migraine headaches. Actually, any headache you have, before you start popping a pill, your body's telling you that you're dehydrated when you have a headache. Could be drinking too much coffee too. That dehydrates your brain. I don't want to go into all that stuff. It's just you're dehydrated when you have a headache. Your body's telling you drink more liquids. And I would say 8 ounces right off the top should diminish your. And then if not, go for another 8 ounces of water, and just see within 3 to 5 to 8 minutes if your headache's gone. Oh, maybe it's just a coincidence. No, I've done this for a very long time, and this is what I understand to be true. That well, her migraines just she got peppermint tea. All right, she drank. She doesn't have migraine. She didn't have migraines anymore after her peppermint tea. Definitely works on headaches. All right, and migraines if anybody has those. Oh boy, I just wanted to put a few things out because it's a gentle tea, peppermint. And the other ones, they could have side effects, but I'll tell you about that if that's the case. And I don't believe there's any real side effects of peppermint tea. It strengthens your heart. It does everything coffee does on a negative level. It reverses it and does positive. It's caffeine free. Peppermint is caffeine free, so it'll give you that little jazz, that little extra that you need. Get your stomach digestive stuff going that's not digesting. That little stuff. Peppermint tea. All the greenies knew about it. So that's all I'm going to tell you about Florida right now, because I told you this is a short one, and I got to do some things. They're throwing a bunch of wood out, and you know how I got a fire pit, and I'm going to go grab it before the big pickup tomorrow. So I got to go do that. So I got to change my clothes. As soon as I do that, I'll be back with. I'm doing back to back because I told you before. When I miss on a Sunday, I'll do a back to back, and I did. Being truthful with you, as I said before, so it'll be with water again. How it can be dangerous, water. We'll leave it. It'll be on the thumb. This thumbnail was under Florida. The next thumbnail you see me with, which will be just in a little bitty time, will be Cabo San Lucas. Okay? And I promise I'll be back Lickety split. Aloha and be well.